Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Boon of Wireless Podcast. I'm Jon Horovitz, founder and president of Atrium Unlimited Consulting, coming to you as always, high above the streets in northern New Jersey at ANJ Media. Yes, New Jersey, where the first M&Ms were made in Newark in 1941. Mars Incorporated launched M&Ms production during the World War II for the soldiers so they wouldn't melt during travel or when they were fighting. The current U.S. production is at the Mars Wrigley factory in Hackettstown, New Jersey, not far from where we are. And the facility produces over 4 million M&Ms per day. Andrew, you've got to be a big M&M fan.
I'm huge.
Well, I mean, seriously, do you like the greens? Do you share these with your family?
I prefer Milky Way.
Well, so much for getting Mars as a sponsor. Okay. All right. My guest today has been a leader in the telecommunications industry for over 35 years. Hey, that's one more year than me. And since late 2020, Ed Evans has served as chairman and CEO of Consumer Cellular. Consumer Cellular is a leading mobile virtual network operator backed by the private equity firm GTCR with over 4 million subscribers. Ed has enjoyed a 25-year relationship with GTCR as an operating and investing partner. From 2008 until 2015, Ed was a member of the board of directors and later CEO of Inteliquent, I think I said that right, that offered fiber connectivity around the globe for telecommunications providers. Inteliquent was sold to GTCR in 2016. Ed has founded many companies, including Stellara Broadband, providing high-speed internet services to over 40 rural communities in the Midwest. Prior to that, Ed was CEO and chairman of Cineverse Holdings. He and GTCR acquired a division of Verizon Communications in February of 2002 and created Cineverse Technologies Incorporated, which was acquired by private equity firm KKR for $3.2 billion. Ed also spent time in executive roles at Dobson Communications, Bell South Mobility, and GTE MobileNet. Ed is a member of CNBC CEO Council, and he holds a master's degree in business administration from Georgia State University. And to top it off, he is the majority owner of Oak Tree National Golf Club in Edmond, Oklahoma. Wow, that is some background. So, Ed, welcome to the broadcast. How are you?
Well, thank you. And after reading all that, I realized I have a hard time keeping a job.
I was going to say something, but it looks to me like you've done fairly well. Okay. You're in Chicago today. You're headquartered with Consumer in Arizona. And it was a pleasure seeing you a few weeks back at MVNE Nation in Miami. And like you said, to put a face with the name. So in October 2020, GTCR, a private equity firm founded in 1980 and based in Chicago, purchased Consumer Cellular for $2.3 billion. Why did this investment firm decide to enter the wireless space at this time?
Well, I don't know that it was so much about the wireless space as it was about just a really attractive investment thesis that was out there. GTCR has been in and out of the wireless space. They backed into Cineverse Technologies, as you mentioned earlier. They've known the space for a long time, but nobody had really seen what I would describe as an uber successful MVNO that was out there. And so I think when this first crossed the desk, we kind of sort of took a look at it, but really wasn't sure there was a lot of interest in it, candidly. We kind of flipped through the pages and did everything through there. But the more we dug into it, and this is in the middle of COVID, right? So you got a lot of extra time on your hands sitting at home. As we really dug into it, it really felt like they had found something that was pretty unique in what they were doing. They had found a way to overcome the sort of natural barriers to entry with an MVNO, right? You didn't have a high cost structure because these subscribers weren't using a lot of data, so you were at a low end, right? Then you had a very loyal group that was not being served by traditional wireless carriers that were out there. And so just the more we peeled back the onion, the more it really looked like an attractive idea. And we just wanted to learn more about it. We did. We spent several months on it.
I actually did some blind consultations, as I mentioned to you, in Miami. They got $2.3 billion. I think I got about $1,000, but it was well worth it to say that I was part of the discussions. When you purchased Consumer Cellular, it was reported that you had about 4 million subscribers. Now, being a private company, I know you can't share a lot, but 4.5 years later, how has your growth been?
It's been good. And that's actually a great question because we do have some public debt out there, so I can share some numbers that have been put into the marketplace. And you're right. When we acquired the company, we had just crossed 4 million subscribers at that point. But that customer base, compared to the customer base we have today, has been very different. And I'll walk through kind of the different avenues. At that time, Target was our biggest distribution channel. They were accounting for about 65% of our gross ads. Target, over the last 5 years, has been really reducing their presence in wireless. And as a result of that, our distribution really suffered. I mean, today they are less than 10% of our gross ads on a go-forward basis. ARPU at the time we acquired the company was around $20 per subscriber. Today it's about $32 per subscriber. So we started with 4 million. We had roughly 1.1 million that were 3G subscribers that you had to go touch everybody, get them a new handset and go through that. We had roughly 2 million, or no, right, 3 million on the AT&T network and roughly 1 million on the T-Mobile network at that time. And we went through an RFP process and decided we were going to move everything to AT&T. Today, all of the subscribers are on AT&T, and that was another 1.1 million that we had to migrate. So we migrated 2.5, almost 3 million subs over that period of time. And today we're sitting at about 4.3 million. I would say that through May of this year, we've added more net subscribers than we did all of last year. So, and a lot of that was just replacing the distribution, frankly. I mean, with Target being less than 10%, we had to find other ways to sell.
I want to, we're going to touch later on your recent distribution channel, which is just kind of, as you said, going against the grain a little bit about what people want to do. And of course, your digital people just calling in. After the acquisition, when the dust settled and you found out what wireless was all about, was there anything you and your team learned after the acquisition that surprised you?
The biggest surprise was the Target piece and how reliant they had been sort of on Target. And as Target started to dry up, that was really the biggest piece of it. I think the rest of it, we had our arms around. Again, we knew the sub base. We knew we had some challenges with the IT stack. I would say that was a piece that we spent a lot of time and effort on, really coming up with better ways to interact with customers that are out there, less expensive ways, while at the same time trying to maintain, the customer service ratings that we've enjoyed over the past several years. And so, no real surprises other than the day that we walked in the door. Again, we're in the middle of COVID, and you can't put people in call centers during this period of time, right? So we're literally abandoning 75% of the phone calls that come in the call center because there's nobody to answer them. The only thing that saved us was Delta was taking 19 hours to answer the telephone, and we were taking 2 hours. So it was certainly some trying times as we were trying to figure out how to get remote workers, right? We had no platform to do that. We had no infrastructure to do that. We had to create it and do that really quickly.
You mentioned customer service. I don't know how many years in a row you've been awarded top customer service, and that leads me into my next question. What's been Consumer Cellular's secret sauce to keeping your customer happy?
It's a great question. And, I would love to take credit for a lot of this, but a lot of this sort of culture and desire was part of the DNA of the company when we acquired it. And I would say there are two things that really stood out to us. Number one was as simple as answering the phone. Just answer it. The phone shouldn't ring more than 2 or 3 times that you ought to be talking to somebody. It's not about routing it through an IVR to 15 different people in 6 different countries before you're able to talk to somebody. So number one was just answer the phone. Number two was don't manage the customer service reps to get on and off a call in 3 to 5 minutes. Coming out of, I've worked for every one of the big 3 at some point or another, and they all, they try to hold their reps to 3 to 5 minutes to a phone call to get on and off. My average phone call is almost 10 minutes. And so, we get on and we try to make sure that we're resolving the issue right away. So it's get on the phone, listen, answer the question, and try to get it right the first time, which we don't always do, but that is absolutely the goal.
When I was looking at your business, which I've been following and actually was using way back when, low churn, 100% U.S. customer service, your pricing models. Is your customer service in-house?
It is. It's 100% in-house. We do use it. We use a third-party operator for overflow. We have some peaks and valleys in seasonality. The highest I think they ever get is about 7% of the phone calls. So yeah, but for the most part, we're all in-house and U.S. based. Yeah.
And you're advertising, of course, Ted Danson, appealing to multiple generations with Cheers and Good Life or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
that's the one he's got out in a Netflix
yeah,
series
yeah.
now,
Yeah.
where he's working inside of an assisted living facility as a private detective. So yeah,
Okay.
we actually, it's a fun fact, you measure Q ratings, right, of who's out there and what their popularity is. And Ted was not at the top of the charts 3-4 years ago. We signed him up, and Ryan Reynolds was, right. So you're watching Mint. They've got Ryan Reynolds. He's killing everybody. We actually reached a point with the Netflix series where we passed Ryan for about 2 weeks, and we were just laughing internally. That was blind luck. We didn't see it, but it did happen. Yeah.
I actually interviewed your chief marketing officer, Craig Lister, a few years ago for Best MVNO. We had a wonderful conversation. And I asked Craig about expanding into the traditional dealer channel. And he said that, we're looking at it, but it was pretty non-committal. Now you just opened up your 40 what store? 40.
I think 46 yesterday.
Wow, 46 stores. And where's that one located?
So 46 and then 47 actually is coming on today. And so with those two, we've got Happy Valley, Oregon, which is outside of Portland, and Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Well, that's the closest one to me then, Allentown. I'll have to go down there. Okay. People are going away from brick and mortar. What was the decision? How was that reached to get into the retail environment? Now, again, these aren't dealer stores. These are company owned.
It was a painful decision. One of the things that we loved about this model, that it was either national retail or it was coming through the call centers, right? Either digital on the web or going through. And so you're sitting in a situation where Target is falling like a brick. I mean, 20, 30% down year over year. We've got to find a way to make that up. So we talk about, maybe we do a dealer network. Maybe we do retail stores. Talk to a lot of people in the industry, and everybody's like, brick and mortar, it's expensive. You really want to do that, the labor costs and everything. No, I don't really want to do that. I want to avoid it like the plague, but I can't grow. I got to find some way to do this. So we test 10 stores, and we open in what I would call the most obvious places, right? We open in the villages
in Florida. Yeah,
exactly, right? If it's not going to work there, it's not going to work anywhere. So we opened 2 stores in the villages. We opened one in Surprise, Arizona, which is a similar type of deal. And we had a number in our head of what we thought they should do. If they could do X gross ads, we were going to be really happy with that. They do 2X that in the first month. So now we're excited, right? We don't have a lot of data on these customers, but we're excited about them. Then you go out a little farther and, we start getting data on their usage, and we live by lifetime value to cash acquisition cost. I mean, that's, I'm a finance guy at heart, and that's what we live by, are those numbers. And, we were scared to death that we knew the cash acquisition cost was going to be high, but what's the lifetime value really going to be like on these guys, right? We're floored because the LTV is 2.5 times any of my other customers.
Wow.
They're taking a higher end rate plan. Churn is sub 1%. And we're like, okay, well, this is just an anomaly. We've just hit one gold vein. They're not all going to do this. So we open up another 10 stores. And then we start learning things. And I touched a little bit on this when you and I were talking. Fort Myers, Florida, right? We opened Fort Myers. And I'm telling you, I think this is going to be the greatest store on the planet. It is right off the interstate. It's a shopping center that is incredible. And it has everything that you would ever want. We opened the store, crickets. Nobody's coming in. We got we show on our dot plots, the data science team is showing, we got customers all over this area. Nobody's coming in. And so what do? Well, we started talking to customers. What did we miss, right? What did we do wrong? And what we found out was where we are is just as important as what we do. So we started rejiggering and learning and taking just the data science guys' data and really putting it into things. So we learned so much in this process. We learned about where to put stores. So now we're at 47, right? And what we're seeing is CAC to LTV ratio business school will tell you if you're doing 3, you're doing really well, right? 3x is a great number. 4x is outstanding. 5x, you're probably not spending enough in marketing. My retail stores are 5.2, 5.3x right now. It's crazy. The rest of my business is over 4, but those are killing it. And so because of that, we've just started going. And we said we're just going to keep going as long as they're performing. And we're getting better and better. New stores that are coming on are doing markedly better than the second batch that came on. And so, our plans are to go to 100 fairly quick. And, then we'll sort of pause and see where we are. And, maybe it's 250, but you're going to see us continue to go. It's particularly with this cohort, right? This cohort, it just needs a lot of hand holding. And they're not into buying things on the internet that much. They want to touch something. They want to feel it. They want to understand it. And so it's been a just markedly different behavior.
You brought up a good point. It was over 50, then over 55. Where's the sweet spot now?
So our average age is in the 60s, is where we are overall as a company right now. Definitely starting to skew down. We're getting more in the 50s. We're staying above that 50 level is where we want to be. But where we're seeing expansion, which is interesting, is in the caretakers, right? Whereas we've always sold directly to the end user. Now we're seeing caretakers that are coming on that are in their 50s, but they have parents in their 70s, 80s, and 90s. And so they're, we're seeing more and more of that, which is why you've seen plans like the 2 for, right? 2 for 60, 2 for 55, and then you can do add-ons.
The Villages and Surprise, your top 3 stores or not?
Yeah, Surprise is the top 3. The Villages, because there's only 230,000 people in the Villages, right? And I've got 2 stores there. So it was one of the things that we wanted to stress test is what population do you really need to put in a store. But those 2 stores continue; they're in the top 10 every month, even where they are. So and with the limited population versus Surprise, which Phoenix has got 7-8 million people now, right? So every store that we've opened up, we have 5 stores I think in the Phoenix area right now. Every one of those are top 10, right? They're just killing it. But the new stuff coming on has been crazy. Spokane, we opened a few weeks ago. Tulsa, Oklahoma is now a top store. So it's been, it just seems like we've really got this process. I say it's the marketing guys and the data science guys have done an amazing job of sort of picking the right spots, and the things that we're turning on right now are doing well. So, yeah.
We talked about your advertising with Ted Danson, but how do you advertise any differently to drive people into these retail locations?
So, we actually have different channels that we use. You'll see brand advertising, right? You'll see Ted, and Ted is doing the sort of traditional, save money with consumer cellular kind of stuff. But we also do a lot of direct response television, right? We've got 3-minute, 5-minute, even 30-minute spots that are out there that are running on the overnight television and everything else that's out there. So we love all of that stuff, and we get signals from it. One of the things that we did over the past, call it 3 years, most companies, I would say almost all companies, buy their media mix services from one of the big players. There's just a lot of guys out there that do that work for them. We were doing that just as well as anyone else. And, it's a little bit of a shotgun approach. We can't really dial those models into exactly what we know about our customers. And so our data science guys, again, started taking that data, feeding it into, meta profiles and being able to really dig down. And we started building our own media mix model. And I would say last year for about 6 months, we ran 2 models side by side, and we were doing every bit as well as what the subscribed services were. So after the first of the year, we stopped subscribing. We were just running on our own media mix model and going through there. And we're running about 25% ahead year over year right now on our own media mix model. So it's a lot of, the things that stand out aren't things that you would imagine. Women's ice skating. The signals are off the charts there, right? It's like, why that? I don't know what the hell that happens. But, and not surprisingly, golf, right? Champions Tour golf.
I can make that my next fun fact that, we appeal to women's ice skaters.
Boy, we do. I don't know what we're doing. But every time we're on one of those things, you can see it light up. The signals are wild.
Wow. That's great. Well, it's great that you have the data mining and the analytics, because I was having a close to an argument, but a discussion with one of my clients at Atrium Unlimited, and I couldn't get the information I needed. And I finally used a line that I've used, for 30 years. I said, I cannot manage what I can't measure.
Yeah,
So
that's exactly right.
And if you don't get me the information I need, we cannot make a decision here.
And it's look, I'm in the cohort that I sell to, right? And I ran marketing for Bell South 110 years ago. We basically had four levers, right? We had television, radio, print, and billboards, right, out of home, and that was really all we had to do for marketing. It in the world of search engine optimization and the digital world and all of these channels that are out there, I don't know how anybody does it without just truckloads of data to parse through. I don't know how you measure any kind of return. It's just critical. And it's been a learning curve for me. I mean, I will tell you that, Craig and his team have, we start the things that they want to do to create this performance marketing team. And I'm, the eternal pessimist around this. Like, why would you need those people? What are they going to do? And I'm drinking the Kool-Aid full on right now. I mean, they've got it figured out. So
nice. My audience here, I hope, for the Boon of Wireless are people that are they want to be educated and enlightened about what's going on in the mobile field, big data, IoT, AI, all this good stuff. You guys made a pretty good pivot on, if I can remember the date, it was on May 28th, right before we got down to Miami. You put out a press release that said that Consumer Cellular is now going to become a mobile virtual network enabler, or what we call an MVNE. And for people that that I went to high school and college with that don't know what I do, and they go, "What's an MVNO?" My wife asked that question many times. What's that stand for again? An enabler is somebody that enables you to operate with a OSS, BSS system, running your reports, rate plan optimization, all that crazy stuff that you never see as a consumer. Which surprised me, thinking that you were strictly a consumer and now retail play. What's going on? What why how did this happen, as they say?
It's a great question. So let me take you back a year ago, and we enjoy a really solid relationship with AT&T. The MVNO carrier relations over years have been up and down, right? The bigger carriers, I think, are starting to realize that MVNOs, in fact, do have a role that's important. And as we're starting to see now, we'll talk about this in a minute, I'm sure. To me, the MVNO world is starting to look like the early stages of the competitive local exchange market, when the barrier to entry came down to nothing. You just had to show up and go sell local telephone service to anybody you wanted out there. You remember as well as I do the 20,000 people that tried to get into that business overnight. I think the difference is at that time capital was free, and so there were hundreds of millions of dollars flowing into this. That's not happening right now, but you are seeing a lot of people jump into that space. Well, these people are showing up on AT&T's doorstep, and they're saying, "Look, we want to get in this space. We all read the article that Ryan Reynolds made $300 million, and we want to make $300 million." And so AT&T, I think, fairly quickly realized they have neither the desire nor the resources to go set up 100 small MVNOs that are out there. And so they came to us and basically said, "Look, of all of our MVNO partners, you guys have really invested in your stack. Your billing is right. Your interconnection to us is right. Your customer service, you've got that figured out. Why wouldn't you guys consider standing up a platform, and we'll help you with it. We'll do this as a kind of a quasi joint venture where we'll provide resources, we'll provide some capital if you need it, whatever you need. But let's stand up this Amdocs ConnectX platform. You run it. And as these guys are coming to us, we're going to make sure they come to you, and we're going to sort of triangulate this thing and see if we can get some of these things up to market." And we hem and hawed about it a long time. We've all hired, Boston Consulting was involved. We had Bain that was involved. All the big heavy hitters. Accenture was doing work for some of these guys.
You must not have had Atrium's phone number.
Well, I must not. Well, I wasn't making the phone calls, for what it's worth. So all these people are coming together, and they're saying, there's something here, and it seems like it's starting to get traction. And so we started working on it about 6 months ago, and we signed our first one about, well, it was this week, I guess Monday or Tuesday this past week. It's, again, we like what they're doing. They've got a differentiated product they want to come out into the market with, and we won't be up until first quarter of next year. But I think there's going to be a lot of those. I mean, look what's happened the last 4 days, right? I mean, you've had Smartless Wireless and Trump Mobile, and God knows what else is coming by Thursday. But there's a bunch of them, and so we felt like, look, we've got a skill set, we've got an IT stack that can support it. It's a way for us to continue to expand and reduce our overall costs as we can amortize things over bigger platforms, and AT&T open out. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
So for those who don't know what a MVNE, the benefits, the 3 carriers all have a very large ask for a 3 to 5 year contract. You have to buy X amount of tens of millions of dollars of wholesale, and the enablers have a much lower entry. Some have no minimums, which is crazy in itself. Those guys are going out of business soon, but you know what I'm talking about. And yeah, it's a good alternative for the smaller guy that wants to get into the business, but may say, hey, I'm not going to do 50,000, 100,000 subs in 3 years. I've got a good product, a good differentiator, a small base of customers to go after, and we're going to end up with about 5,000 to 10,000 customers. And that's a perfect scenario for the enablers.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're going to see guys. I mean, there's guys out there that are modeling 1 million to 2 million subs over the first 24 months, and I mean, some of these guys, I think, have the horsepower to get there. But what they are is they're marketing engines, right? I mean, that's what these guys are. And more than anything else, they've got some exclusive content they can put in. They've got some, some ways that they can attract customers. I thought Klarna this weekend, what they announced was the most real MVNO that I've heard recently, right? They're adding that into what their financial services platform, and that makes a lot of sense to me, as opposed to Smartless and some of the other guys. It's another Me Too product that's coming out.
It is, but that. They've got the podcast. I don't know what their subscriber count is or their base that they reach, but they'll do it. And a year from now, will they have sold or folded? Don't know. I welcome all 3 of them. I love all of their work. You're all 3 welcome to come on to the podcast here. So,
and honestly, I think it helps everybody, right? There's this crazy number that's floating around, and it's anywhere from 30 to 40%, depending on who you talk to. But 30 to 40% of people who have wireless service have never changed their provider. Same guys, I mean, think about everybody that's out there. And when you talk to them and you get to consideration, most of them are still only considering the big 3. That's the number that's slowly creeping up. And the more of these guys that enter it, I think it does all of us good, right? It increases consideration for other things. Well, if I'm going to look at Smartless, maybe I should look at Mint, or maybe I should look at some of these others too. So, yeah, I mean, I think the more the merrier. It just brings credibility to the segment. Now, you're also going to have some bad ones, right? You're going to have some guys that are going to show up and do some really dumb things, and it's going to hurt, and you're going to have to overcome those. But but it's publicity.
For everyone that starts to fail. And so you got to, I know people, even I talked about this many times. You can't force a customer to take something that they don't want. Disney, ESPN mobile, for whatever reasons, we know what they are. They thought they would put their brand name on it and attract somebody. And I think some of the recent entries that you mentioned may have the same problem. Is it the brand or is it the service, et cetera? So good. Well, looks like you guys have solved for a lot of these things. And my last question on the MVNE is, are you going to be going out and actively searching for MVNEs, or let people know that, hey, we're open for business as an enabler, come see us? I assume you're going to be at the show in August in Vegas.
We will, yeah. So we are in fact in partnership with AT&T. I think the AT&T guys are putting together a little bit of a road show for us and them to go around and start talking to some people, and go through there. I mean, no shortage of interest. I mean, we've got 5 or 6 right now that are kind of, it's somewhere in process. And, again, some of them are still chasing capital. And so I don't know what's really there, but we're definitely working it. So,
Ed, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience about the consumer?
Thank you for letting us come on. I mean, we're we're fighting the fight every day, and out there and love competition, frankly, and love to see everybody succeed. I think there's plenty for all of us. And so I think avenues like this, anything we can do to sort of raise awareness about what the ecosphere looks like is great. So no, thank you for having us. And
the honor is ours. You hopefully will make us more legitimate than we already are. I was told again by Andrew behind the glass that we are the fastest growing wireless podcast. And then I said, are we the only one? Are we the only one? He goes, no, there's a few out there, but you're doing great. Well, Ed, I have watched this. I saw commercials. So if I'm looking to join the MVNO space and I have the need for an enabler, or I'm a current MVNO and I'm not happy with my enabler and I want to try out Consumer Cellular because it seems like you guys have really done your homework and figured this thing out. How do I contact somebody about getting Consumer Cellular's MVNE business?
really, you're more than welcome to reach out either to me directly or to Elizabeth Hunter, who's our COO. And both of us are on LinkedIn. Both of us you can contact that way and reach out, and we'll be more than happy to reach out to you and have a conversation about what's going on.
Okay. Yes, Elizabeth was on the panel that I moderated, and a wonderful meeting her, and brought some very good insights. So, well, Ed, again, thank you for joining us today, and congratulations, 100 stores, continued growth through your regular channels, and a pleasure, as always, to see you again. And I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on the Boon of Wireless Podcast.
Thank you, John. Thank you again for having me. I look forward to being back again sometime. Thanks.
Okay. We'll when you hit 100, we'll get you there. Okay. That is going to wrap up another edition of the Boon of Wireless. And as always, hey, we'll see you next time. Do you want to be a guest on the Boon of Wireless Podcast? Give us a call at 908-THE-BOON. Yes, 908-843-2666.